In their ever-growing wisdom, HP decided they are going to get rid of the HP Pavilion, Envy, and Spectre series and consolidate it under one umbrella name, the HP Omnibook. I actually think it's a pretty fantastic idea. I mean, it's a lot more easier because now they've actually put these odd number schemes to it. So the higher the odd number, the more premium the laptop. And that's where this guy fits in, the HP Omnibook 3. The number would make you believe that this is kind of at the bottom of the tier, or a base model, if you will, within the Omnibook series. However, this laptop is a paradox, guys. It has a lot of premium features, but it's also a pretty budget type of laptop. And this review is gonna get quite interesting and maybe confuse you more by the time you're done. But seriously, the configuration we have here is rocking Intel's Core Ultra 7 355 processor. It also has 32 gigabytes of DDR5 memory, Intel's integrated base graphics, a 1 terabyte solid state drive. Furthermore, we do have Wi-Fi 7 and Bluetooth version 6.0. We also get a 16-inch display here with a full HD plus resolution. Now you can probably kind of see where I'm going with this, like the specs are kind of all over the place. This is a powerful laptop, but it's also a budget laptop, but doesn't exactly cost as much as a lower mid-range laptop. It's pretty interesting, guys. So buckle in and let's talk about the HP Omnibook 3. The packaging here is about as inspiring as a 1980s government office. It's boring. However, it's what's inside the box that actually counts, because when you remove it, behind some more protective packaging, here it is, the Omnibook 3, and it is vivid, but more on that in just a minute. We also finally get a very petite 65-watt adapter, no more chunky bricks. So the times have caught up, and it's nice to see a mid-range laptop actually doing this. You also get a relatively long USB-C cable here for charging, of course, and some basic documentation. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. This is a pretty cheaply made laptop. They're using like B-tier plastic over here from top to bottom, so there's no metal components. Even when you get the top tier 2,000 Canadian dollar configuration that I have over here, you're still gonna get a full plastic body. However, what I will say is that the choice of color here is quite nice. It's fingerprint resistant, it's vivid, and it's a little bit brighter than their traditional silver colors. Now, it's also worth noting the laptop has a weight of about 3.6 pounds, which for a 16-inch laptop is actually a perfectly reasonable weight, probably because of all the cheap plastic they're using, but nonetheless, great for portability. And other than that, yeah, the design here is very similar to the Omnibook 5 and even the Omnibook 7, just cheaper materials. All the relevant ports are on either side. So on one side, you do have a HDMI 2.1 port, which is nice. You get two Type-C ports, both of which actually have DisplayPort and power delivery functionality baked in. And then, of course, you have one more USB-A SuperSpeed port. On the other side, you have another USB-A SuperSpeed port and the good old headphone jack. Honestly, the only thing really missing here is a SD card reader. I know some of you are going to be like, well, the thing is, this is not really a creative user laptop. You're right. But the thing is that it has specs that are more than capable of a creative workflow, so a SD card reader would have been nice, but by no means a deal breaker. The bottom side is pretty standard stuff. You do have a removable plastic lid over here. You do have a nice large air intake vent, which is of course good for cooling. And then you have these cutouts for a bottom firing speaker system. When you unfold this laptop, you have a nice large palm rest. Obviously, you've got the same thin plastic material here, but the choice of that vivid silver color really kind of masks that fact away. At the center, you have a nice large trackpad. Unfortunately, this thing has enough flex to bend space-time itself. Like, I mean, just look at the sheer amount of flex over here. It's not particularly a great trackpad in terms of quality. It'll get the job done though. On the contrary, the keyboard is actually pretty nice. So you've got reasonably large keycaps over here. The font, while a little bit on the thinner side for my liking, is definitely still easy enough to read. And the backlighting gets quite bright, which is super practical, of course. You also do get a 10 keypad with the 16-inch variant, which is great for number crunching productivity. You don't have a fingerprint sensor built in. Now, as far as the typing experience is concerned, I actually think it's pretty decent. You have a good amount of key travel, a little bit of tactility. It's not as good as Lenovo does with their IdeaPad series, but overall a decent keyboard. Fun fact, when I used to work at Geek Squad a decade ago, quite literally, the number one reason HP laptops came in for repair physically was because it had a broken hinge. It is extremely easy to actually break the hinges on these laptops, and HP has improved virtually nothing in that regard. Actually, really, like, let me show you one sec. So here I have the laptop here. I don't know if you can hear it on the camera, but there's like creaking. Let me try. Okay, do you hear that? You hear that? It's pretty bad, guys. The point is that, no. Just no. You do have a plastic encasing around the display, which is pretty standard, a reasonably thin chin at the bottom. The side bezels are narrow enough for an immersive view, and then at the top, you do have a reasonably thin forehead as well, at the center of which you actually have a pretty decent full HD webcam, which is great for general productivity. Now, depending on where you are, the display can have a number of configurations, going from the base display, which I'll talk about, all the way to a fancy 3K OLED on a HP Omnibook 3, right? This laptop is it's all over the place. But let's talk about the standard display most people will be getting, which is the one I have over here. So it's a 16-inch full HD plus display with a 16:10 aspect ratio. Unfortunately, you're still stuck with a base 60 Hz refresh rate. However, the real crime here is the peak brightening, just 300 nits, which is barely enough to compensate for a bright day. Fortunately, they do have a anti-glare coating, which does also unfortunately affect viewing angles quite a bit. Now, it's also worth noting this particular version does not have touch captivity, though you can opt for a touch display as well. As far as color accuracy goes, it is a disappointing 62% sRGB color rating, which means this laptop isn't particularly great for photo or video editing, but good enough for most general productivity. The HP Omnibook 3 ain't no slouch. It's got a pretty powerful Core Ultra 7 355 processor, though you can downgrade to a less powerful Core Ultra 5 processor. You get 32 gigabytes of memory as standard. However, you can downgrade to 16 gigabytes of DDR5, and regardless of which one of these two processors you get, Intel's base integrated graphics are standard. These Panther Lake chips are no joke. I mean, on the Core Ultra 7 processor we have over here, general activities like surfing the web and watching 4K content online is obviously going to be super easy for this machine. But if you're doing programming or code compilation, you can stack lines upon lines and you have a large amount of memory pool and plenty of processing power for it to be a smooth experience. Now, if you are someone who's going to be using 3D modeling programs like Blender, you'll be pleasantly surprised to find that if you're stacking a low to medium amount of assets, it's actually a pretty smooth and nearly flawless experience. Honestly, it isn't until you start doing professional grade 3D modeling where you'll quickly see the limitations of not having a discrete GPU. If you are doing video editing, you can easily go up to 4K with 2 to 3 layers stacked and virtually have little to no frame drop. Like I said, these chips are impressive. However, if you start doing color grading or adding a ton of effects, then you will start noticing a little bit of performance drop, but overall a very viable experience, and render times are also quite fast. Now, if you want a game on here in a casual capacity, you absolutely can. Games like Counter-Strike Go 2 are easily able to sustain about 60 frames per second over here with the Core Ultra 7 model, and it was a very fun experience, and I only had a handful of drops in terms of performance, so again, casual gaming is completely possible. Thermals are genuinely impressive on this machine. HP's done a great job with cooling management. We found with the unrealistic peak load, this laptop hit an average surface temperature on the upper third area of just 38 degrees Celsius, but a more realistic sustained load will yield you around 35 degrees Celsius, which is about 3 degrees cooler than the typical 16-inch laptop in this class segment. Now, fan noise is equally as impressive. With a high-speed peak load, we were able to fan noise in the high 40 decibel mark, which is actually a relatively quiet number, but outside of that, it stays pretty mum. If self-upgradability is important to you, you'll be happy to know that both the M.2 slot and the 2 SODIMM DDR5 slots are upgradable. However, 32 gigabytes should be plenty with this configuration. The HP Omnibook 3 comes with a modest 63 watt-hour battery. While not the largest possible number, this will yield you just about 12.5 hours of runtime with the Core Ultra 7 processor, and arguably a little bit more with the Core Ultra 5 model. The audio on this laptop is exactly what you'd expect from a budget tier laptop. It's basically 2 speakers that sound diluted. The volume is nice, but it's gonna have a fair bit of distortion, especially at higher volumes. Here's a quick sound test for reference.
Turning nothing into this. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I'm all in. I know that I want it. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah, I'm all in. I know that I want it. Turn me out.
So here's the thing, guys. In the US, this configuration of the Omnibook 3 will yield you about $1,500. That is far north of what you'd consider a lower mid-range or budget laptop. The HP Omnibook 3 is pretty awesome in a lot of ways. I mean, it's giving you a powerful Core Ultra 7 Series 3 processor. It gives you up to 32 gigabytes of memory. It has a number of configurations you can tweak to bring the price slightly lower or slightly higher depending on the display you choose, for example. But the thing is that it seems like it's one of the most confused laptops HP has made. The Omnibook 3 presents itself, at least by HP's logic, as a lower mid-range laptop. But the specification on one hand almost puts in the same league as a Omnibook 7, for example, but then at the same time, it is a very cheaply built laptop. The plastic is thinner than ever before. The hinge mechanism is extremely diabolical. I mean, it's mind-boggling how HP hasn't really, put the thought to actually make it better. There is a degree of risk of you breaking the hinge within 2 to 3 years of use. I can tell you that from personal experience, from my time of working, and also from reviewing HP laptops for the past several years. With that said, that doesn't mean this laptop isn't worth it on that merit alone. If you are a cautious user and you take care of it, the hinge should be okay, and the specs are pretty powerful. And if you don't really care about getting a nice body, you can kind of, skip that part and get high-end specs while paying roughly what you would for a HP Omnibook 5 or even 7 with lower-end specs but a more premium body. If that sounds right for you, then I can recommend this laptop. And as always, I will have product links in the video description below. If you guys actually enjoyed the content, make sure you subscribe to this channel, like this video. Guys, I gotta make bread, and you guys are the reason that I can sustain a living from making these videos, so thank you so much. But yeah, please consider subscribing if you're enjoying the content. Till then, I'll catch you in the next one.